Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Spiritual Scientist. I'm Victor Hanso. Thanks for checking me out. So, I just thought I'd talk about some things that are on my mind. Today, I'm going to talk about the Mandela Effect a little bit and what's occurring. So, the reason I'm coming out with this information now is that a friend of mine's contacted me after a while. I haven't heard from my friend, and a bunch of her friends killed themselves because they're so despondent and just giving up. Obviously, they're give up hope. They don't have hope. They don't have faith. So that's the reason I thought I'd talk about the Mandela Effect, what's going on, and bring some clarity to different situations to make people feel better about what's going on, right? So, consciousness exists. We're in a vibrational frequency. So the range of, I'm going to talk about some basic stuff real quick, but the range of our perceptions. So, for instance, light. Spectrum that we see in is a variable range of frequencies. So these frequencies that we have, our senses, the five senses, and so on, we take these information and you put it into your brain and you correlate that data into that, an idea of what is out there in the universe, right? So we have an idea of frequency ranges of what actually is transpiring. Now, when your vibrational frequency of your consciousness is at a certain wavelength, so they can look at this frequency at 7.85 hertz that they look at, which they say is now the frequency of the planet. So there's a certain frequency of the planet, of everything. So within that context is what I'm going to talk about now. So as we raise our vibrational frequency, as I've raised my vibrational frequency, within that subset is another sine wave vibrational frequency, you see. And that is more towards an angelic edge of vibrational frequencies. So you basically, as you vibrate, like your consciousness, it goes like a wave. And as it gets towards the crest, up or down, we're getting towards more of a infinity consciousness. So if you look at something like the Gateway program, which was released, a document, it's 2003, CIA document that, and I wanted to compliment J.C. Christopher for pointing that out again. I was aware of that, but I reread it again, and it just illustrates it all so clearly that your consciousness frequency, as you raise your consciousness frequency, you delve in more towards infinity consciousness, which is involved in all space and time and creation, matter and energy. So space and energy, all and matter, are in time, are all same thing, interrelated. So as, for instance, when I started really getting into spirituality again, it crests with everybody. 2010, 2011, when I got more into infinity consciousness, my consciousness became one with infinity. And when you become more one with infinity and creation, you affect it within the time matrix. So if we are minds, the higher vibrational frequencies, when you get into that infinity consciousness, what happens is your consciousness melds with higher frequencies, and the idea is that me, my consciousness went into that higher realm, and then it stayed there, right? So my consciousness is now part of the higher vibrational frequencies of infinity consciousness. So when I dwelled into the higher vibrational frequency of consciousness, then you become, and my consciousness became all together with space and time. Now, as I put my awareness on it, it changes vibrational frequencies, around me. So, and that's what you see as a manifestation. So I'm trying to make this all very clear. So as vibrational frequencies trickle down through matter, space, and time, you see changes in, like, for instance, the Mandela Effect. Now, it isn't all, me, and it isn't all you. There's higher vibrational frequency beings that are beyond, higher, that are spectrum, right? So we have up to E8. So we have E8, and Google E8 if you want. E8 vibrational frequency, 8th-dimensional frequency. In an 8th-dimensional frequency vibration, you have something called, like, machine elves. So these machine elves work as fast as light, like subliminally, luminal, I wanted to say, subliminally moving and changing the matter which permeates all space and time. So I envision these kind of beings as like Sonic the Hedgehog. So Sonic the Hedgehog, these machine elves would actually change things. Now, one of my ideas is the machine elf and elves have, as I understand, access to a quantum computer. Now, I believe they're from a post-singularity civilization where they can react through our reality, and I believe that they're more attracted to higher vibrational frequency beings that can interact with them. So they're always saying, like, show me, let me show you this, let me show you that. So then they communicate within geometric forms. Now, the geometric forms that they use are all different geometric forms, and form is just form. So what I'm saying to you is that these, when you're at a higher vibrational frequency of consciousness, then you could speak to these machine elves. Now, most people have to take DMT to speak to these machine elves. I don't need to take DMT because my consciousness is at that higher vibrational frequency. So when I have and we don't communicate in words, but communicate in thought forms. We communicate to these two, specifically machine elf, that can take information that I have as a creation idea and change creation. Now, the ones that I've been involved with as Mandela effects have been non-harmful creation changes. For instance, certain animals, things like that. Now, words, things of that nature, not all of them. I believe the machine elves are now attracted to higher vibrational frequencies, and they take quite amount of joy of changing creation. I believe that there's a like a war. There's a spiritual war, and these beings are neutral. I would say within that, they're just part of creation. So think of our reality as a creational spectrum, and then they would be part of. If you're coming from a biblical standpoint, they're part of the hierarchy of angels, which react in the creation underneath God, of course. Now, when a higher vibrational being like myself can interact with these beings, we manifestation of certain things can occur. When other people are taking, DMT and these, now they can change certain things. Now, they might not be aware of anything and the subconscious mind's doing it, or they might not do anything. There's also programs within the government that they have people that are endeavoring in different governments to work on these kind of things. This has been the way it is. The good news is, to get a higher infinity consciousness, you have to be invited. To use a loaded word, you have to be chosen to use these kind of thought forms and frequencies. And it isn't like you're just gonna, do these kind of things. It takes years of practice to get to that higher vibrational frequency level. With all that said, the reason I'm mentioning all this now is to give people hope. So to give people hope out there in the world that are worried, like they don't have, there is a plan, and they are scared, like people are giving up hope. I just wanted to say that I'm a higher vibrational creator, frequency maker within the matrix of these higher dimensional matrix that we're in, and then that should give people hope. So miracles are merely what you think of as a miracle is a miracle. So what is a miracle, what's not a miracle? Everything is a miracle if you're looking at it with the correct way of looking at it. If you're not looking at things as everything's a miracle, then everything's, then you're not looking at things basically correctly, because you don't have the right eyes on. You're not looking through the right lenses. When you look through the higher dimensional way of being, everything is a miracle, and then you can see things for how they really are. Now, it's a rare occurrence to be invited to have this kind of infinity consciousness, and that you can't force these things. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. It's the opposite. You can't drink from the water unless you're invited. So you could be led, but then to actually drink the water is different. So that water that you're drinking is an everlasting water, and that water comes to people usually, if they're, I don't like the word good, but in the next life in a way. So these things are all biblically related, and I don't want to make people worry or feel weird or things like that. It's all just vibrational frequencies and everything else. So people get scared and they worry all the time, and then there's pointing fingers and they're saying this is bad and this is bad and this is good. Certainly, that's the case with certain things, and what is there's a judgment, and judgment occurs as through a lens. And if you're wearing the higher vibrational frequency and you're invited to have those higher vibrational frequencies, then you're in judgment. Now, judgment happens through me, and I don't have to do anything. It's a non-movement of a movement. So the movement occurs through the lens of my reasoning is the judgment. And judgments happen. And when judgments happen, you don't judge them, but they're being judged by me, for instance. So if something's judged linear or non-linear, or what I'm saying is good or bad, that correlates that data into a idea. And when that idea is taken, and if that's taken up to a level where it goes to infinity consciousness, then the infinity consciousness can be changed by machine elf to be whatever. Now, the Pope disappearing and reappearing was like a test of the to see if things could be changed in that format, and they were. So, and they are, and they can be. So things can, instantly manifest, demanifest through time, space, and dimension as infinity consciousness deems that it should be. So I wanted to make that clear. And I'm sure there's questions, but it's all very simple, I think, and straightforward. So I'm just trying to illustrate the fact that what I'm calling infinity consciousness is consciousness beyond, space and time. And within infinity consciousness it's a threefold state of matter. So you could say it's a Father, Son, Holy Spirit. You could say it's there's the three within Om. There's the three aspects of Om. We have the three aspects within the time space constraint that are involved. And it all seems now straightforward to me. So as you raise your vibrational frequency, which you're invited to do, to be more spiritual, to be more good, then you have more access to information that you'll have in your mind. Now, there is a discordant set of vibrational frequencies that are negative in aspect, and that's, as in all things, that's the case. So we have, like, for instance, 5G, we have demonic beings, you have things of that nature that are discordant. When things of accord and with discord, interface, we have those things seem to fight. The pure higher vibrational frequencies always win. So it shakes apart the lower vibrational frequencies. And I am saying vibrations. The angelics, are below God, and they work for God. People think that they can control them, manipulate them, do what you will with them. That's not the case. You think you're doing it, but you're not, right? So I wanted to be clear about that as well. So there's a lot of lower vibrational frequencies that pretend that they're higher vibrational frequencies, you see. And that is to gain a foothold into a higher vibrational frequency realm, to make people believe certain things, so they can get in line with the lower vibrational frequency, and then that lower vibrational frequency is changing things within a higher vibrational frequency. So there is false paradigms all over the place. You have to really be careful. And I believe in Jesus. I know, so I want to, let people know that this is very scientific, yet very spiritual at the same time. So this is what the channel's about, the spiritual scientist. So I just wanted to talk about that for a minute and illustrate the fact about vibrational frequencies, consciousness, and how things are connected, and how time and space are interrelated within consciousness, and that consciousness can be affected by matter, and matter can affect consciousness. So it's all interrelated. It seems like people have been confused about these kind of things for a long period of time. So I thought I'd just talk about it for a few minutes. Anyway, this is all, like I said, pretty clear to me. I don't know if there's any confusion for a lot of you out there. You could comment, and I'll address it. But there are, higher, as your mind, your consciousness, as your heart, as all these things progress in vibrational frequency, when if you get towards infinity consciousness, which is say the state of God, then you're close to, these are all the things that Jesus was talking about. But having an open heart, having mercy, peace, all those things open you up to higher, vibrational frequencies. Now, most people at the highest level that they're getting is less than 1/100% of the higher frequencies. So the higher frequency is, like I mentioned, an entranceway, if you will, is 7.85 hertz, which is the frequency of the planet. Now, the Mandela Effect is such that the vibrational frequency of the planet, if you will, the Schumann frequency, did not exist until 2012. But when you look at the historical record of 2012 and before that, you'll see that the Schumann are named after someone Schumann in the early 1900s, and he did was it 1950? He did the research, he named after him, and then people have been talking about it for a long time, right? Well, that's because it permeates all space and time, and then it's all through all space and time. You see, so there wasn't a frequency around the planet until 2012. There wasn't a Schumann frequency, but that is the consciousness that I'm involved in. So that Schumann frequency is now permeating around the earth, and as of 2015 it went into 3 frequency layers. Now those 3 frequency layers is what I've been talking about, is the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, the Trinity. We have the 3 states of Om and all matter. So as my consciousness and frequency has permeated higher and higher into infinity consciousness, then that vibrational frequency is coming to the planet, into our reality. So that's why people haven't seen Mandela effects that really happened when my consciousness permeated into that high vibrational frequency in reality, and then that all those changes translated into time and space. Now, as my consciousness is at the highest vibrational frequency, there are other consciousnesses that have tried to permeate into that high vibrational frequency, and those consciousnesses have interacted with the beings there that have, again, neutral, that have changed certain things. So I just wanted to make that clear, that people are saying that, for instance, like a path, when spiritual, they'll start hearing the tone of frequency, that is my consciousness. So my consciousness is above that, and you're hearing an edge of my consciousness, which is the consciousness frequency above. I'm just telling you about, like I said, 100% of that vibration is what you can perceive within that. So I just thought I'd illustrate all that, make it all clear, so to give people hope. I'm all about hope. I want people not to worry. I don't think it's the time to kill yourself. Don't do it. A friend of mine killed themselves. A friend of mine's friend killed themselves. Multiple people. Very despondent about things, about being sequestered, I guess, and things just push them over the edge. There is higher frequency being on the planet right now, and it's all good. Like, I'm on the side of good. Now you could look at Jesus, when Jesus was alive, as an example, and then Jesus at any time could have been negative, right? He was tempted by the devil, and he said, well, you could do this or you could do that, and you could do this. Would you like all this? Would you like all the riches? And Jesus chose the good path. So you can always turn towards bad things, but it's choosing the good path is the harder for a lot of people. What I'm saying is, I'm trying to choose the good path all the time, and so should you. It's for the people who are choosing the bad path that I'm letting them know that Pope disappearing and reappearing was a test, and everything seems to be working out correctly. So don't come to repentance. is the idea. You know, don't be the one that, you're being forced to disappear from reality, and no one's gonna know that you were even ever alive. Like, all reality would morph and change, and boom, like, that's the threat, right? I don't know if I could be any clearer about that. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Like, subscribe, share. I hope I made everything pretty clear. It's all good. Nothing bad. It's all good. So, nothing to worry about. All right? And if you're interested in raising your frequency, I do videos. I have podcasts. I have videos and speak. I write and do all that to help everybody to raise their vibrational frequencies. And love is the best thing. So love each other, and that's it. Like, subscribe, share. Peace out. Bye-bye.